And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who have been able to join us for the live portion. And if you wanted to join the live portion and you happen to be listening anywhere else, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. You can find me on Rumble, and that's Coffee Talk 2. Coffee Talk 2 on Rumble, and that's the number 2 for anybody who might be looking. Although, if you are watching on Rumble, I cannot see your comments, at least not with Restream. When Restream runs out, I'm going to try to switch back to StreamYard, and we'll see how that goes. So, there we are. No felines. Oh, yes, I do. Monkey's in the room. We'll see if he wants to get noticed today or not. Monkey is in here with me. And I'll go ahead and greet some of the people that have joined us for the live portion. I see Tuck is here, Helter, Jimmy, Dragon, Bob is here, Country Living, Raccoon, Brian, and there he is. There's Monkey. Monkey, the car engine rescue. And for those of you who are not aware of who Monkey is, he was brought to us by a neighbor who discovered him in the engine of a car when he was a kitten. And this is young enough that he wasn't even able to eat solid food yet. He had to be bottle fed, and he was burned up. His paws actually were burned up pretty good, but he's in fantastic shape now. Isn't that right, buddy? And he's very rambunctious, so Monkey is a fitting name for him. He's always in the way, and he jumps around and he tries to scare the birds and the bird feeder all day. Anyways, as we get ready to jump off here and we take a look at what is going on in the world as far as the Great Reset is concerned, or the Great Reset in the United States, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here today, because, you know, a lot of times with presidents, they talk about things like, what did they do their first year in office? And in our case, it's more like, what did the president do in the first week in office? Because he is moving very quickly. That is, Donald Trump is moving very, very quickly right now. Isn't that right? And he has to, or else nothing's going to get done. Nothing is going to get done. I see James has joined us. And Raccoon says, Monkey digging into the beard again. Yeah, he does that. He's obsessed with the beard. And D'Lo has joined us as well. There's something about that beard that he just really likes, and he always wants to try to get under it. I don't know what he's looking for, but it's harmless enough. Now, a couple of things of speculation that have been churning around here, and the first of which, don't step on that keyboard, the first of which, of course, is the letter that was left for Donald Trump, and it's been revealed now what Biden left in that letter. So we'll go ahead and we'll knock that out here really quick. And that's just a tradition. It's not anything that spectacular. This is a tradition that I believe was started by Ronald Reagan, correct? Leaving a letter in the desk for the incoming president as a courtesy. And now Trump took the letter and he said he would look at it later and, you know, decide whether or not he was going to show it to the media. And he has. And this is a Fox News article. And I believe that Fox News is the only one this has been revealed to thus far. So it says, Biden's letter to Trump has been revealed. May God bless you and guide you. Here we go. President Trump revealed the contents of the letter that President Biden left upon leaving the Oval Office earlier this week, exclusively Wednesday. The letter which Trump found inside the Oval Office with a little help from the Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy is addressed, Dear President Trump, and reads as follows. And yeah, that's correct, because one of them asked if there was a letter in there. Because as I pointed out, since Reagan, I believe, that's been just a tradition that an exiting president leaves a letter for an incoming president. But here, this is a quote from the letter. As I take leave of this sacred office, I wish you and your family all the best in the next 4 years. The American people and people around the world look to this house for steadiness in the inevitable storms of history, and my prayer is that in the incoming years will be a time of prosperity, peace, and grace for our nation. May God bless you and guide you as he has blessed and guided our beloved country since our founding. Signed, Biden, February 20th, 2025. It's like, it's too bad he couldn't have, honey, you're bumping the microphone. Okay. It's too bad he couldn't have had that attitude while he was president. You know, because you can say stuff like that, but doing it is something else entirely. Also, it's an interesting contrast, and it goes to show you how phony a lot of these guys are, that he did nothing but badmouth Trump and then does this like doom and gloom exit speech, the only president in history to do it, to sit there and just really talk like it's the end of the damn world in his exit speech instead of trying to be upbeat. And then he leaves a letter like that. Also, remember that when he came to the White House, that is Trump, and they did the traditional greeting at the door for the incoming president and first lady, he says to him, "Welcome home," with a great big fat smile, and shook his hand. And it's interesting how he is when he's face to face with Trump and how he acts behind his back. Country says inclined to believe he didn't write the letter himself. He doesn't write anything himself. That's what Jericho says here. Who wrote it? And Blanca says, I hear they're going to investigate the Biden family. Well, I mean, trying to preemptively pardon people, which again has never been done, to my understanding. The closest, and I brought this up yesterday, the closest anybody's ever gotten to preemptively pardoning anybody is when, who was it? Jimmy Carter pardoned draft dodgers left over from the Vietnam War. But those people were technically already criminals. They just hadn't been caught. So there was a crime already. They couldn't charge them because they didn't have them. In this instance, with Fauci, with his family members, with his son, and all the rest of that, and the people from the January 6th committee that he granted preemptive clemency to, they haven't been charged with anything yet. Nobody knows if they did any actual crime. I mean, he did pardon Hunter Biden, but then he preemptively pardoned anything else that anyone might come up with in discovery that he might be guilty of within the last 10 years. And it's like, well, how can you pardon somebody if you don't know if there's a crime or not? It makes him sound really guilty. But that was his that was what was in the letter. That was what was in the letter. Again, he may not have written that at all. He might have just told his speechwriters, yeah, put something nice on the card. Because, tradition. Also, we'll knock out the other elephants in the room, and that's the controversy around, because they're trying hard. They're trying hard to come up with some controversy, and the best they can do so far is Melania Trump's hat. Have you seen all the memes about the hat? Portraying her as the animated series Joker from Batman and Cad Bane from Star Wars and whatever else they can come up with. Just foolishness. And actually, the hat was rather stylish, I thought. I didn't think she looked silly at all. The hat was rather low key for hats of that ilk, as it were. You want to see crazy hats? Go to church. But anyways, that's a non-entity. That's neither here nor there. The best you can come up with is to make fun of Melania Trump's hat. Great. And I see Monkey has joined us today. Monkey99 popping in. The other one is Musk allegedly making a Nazi salute. And they're jumping all over this one here. This is a Time magazine article. Elon Musk comments on the salute controversy, and that doesn't really even look like that's what he's doing because he's got his palm facing out. Actually, it looks like he's waving at somebody. I don't think he meant for that to be that type of salute, but the media wants to jump on something. Elon Musk was visibly bursting with excitement after Trump's inauguration at a celebratory rally on Monday at Capital One Arena in Washington. He pumped his fist in the air and bellowed yes to the raucous crowd. But another gesture soon after has sent observers questioning whether Musk was expressing joy or something more insidious. Quote, I just want to say thank you for making it happen. And that is Elon talking. Musk then slapped his chest with his right hand before flinging it diagonally upward, palm face down. And no, it isn't. The palm is not face down on this photo. It's facing it. I mean, it's at an angle, but it's really facing forward. And that's kind of like, when people pound their chest and then they throw their hand out, or sometimes they make a peace sign. Goes on to say, he turned around to the audience members behind the podium and repeated the gesture. My heart goes out to you, he says. Quote, palm back on his chest again. But the quick salute-like movement drew attention as swiftly as it happened. In live commentary, CNN anchor Aaron Burnett pointed the gesture out, and co-anchor Casey Hunt noted, it's not something that you typically see in American political rallies. That's not true, and I'm going to show you here in a minute. And then they go on to tell you all this nonsense that people said on Twitter. I don't care. Where are we? Post. Let's get back to the actual story. Can I get back to the actual story? All this is other people's takes on it from social media generated, or somebody actually write this. It says it was written by Chad Guzman. I hate when they don't know what to say and they fill it up with quotes from people on X and like Instagram and crap. All right, let's get down to the bottom of the article here then. Musk did not Monday night, though he replied to a number of posts on X about it, thanking the ADL, mocking AOC, and agreeing with the post. A post that said, can we please retire to calling people a Nazi thing? It didn't work during the election. It's not working now. It's tired, boring, and old material. You burned out its effect. People don't feel shocked by it anymore. The wolf has been cried too many times. Musk reposted a video clip of his rally remarks that included the moment he made the questionable gesture, commenting, the future is so exciting. I mean, he said, my heart goes out to you while he does it. But I'll show you something else here, too, really quickly to reiterate the point. And this is I posted this on X myself earlier in the day. Let me share this cartoon with you. Tell me if this looks familiar to anyone. Tell me if that looks familiar to anyone. Do you remember when Kamala Harris did that? Did the same thing? No one said a damn thing about it. Well, because it's Elon Musk, yeah. That cartoon really kind of sums it all up. Monkey suggests even the ADL had to say that Elon wasn't making that salute. Dental says, I wonder what it means when I turn my phone off and back on and the temperature and time of Washington, D.C. shows up. I'm 2,400 miles away from there, probably nothing. Maybe the setting thinks you're in a different location. Blanca said, sad that many will believe whatever the media pushes. That's true. But this is, that's the whole point right there. People may often do that without it meaning anything. They may often make a gesture similar to that, and it doesn't mean anything. He tapped his heart and put his hand up. It's just saying, hey, man, my heart goes out to you. It doesn't mean he's making some insidious, quote, salute. But between that and Melina's hat, that's all that the media has to work with right now. And so I guess they're going to run with it, or they're going to try to. But yeah, especially on social media, all over Facebook, all over Instagram, all over X, showing this salute or showing memes of Melina with her hat, making references to her again, looking like the animated series Joker, or Cad Bane from Star Wars are the two ones that I've seen the most. It's really kind of ridiculous. I mean, how many times in your lifetime have you done this? Put your hand up. Because there was two ways to do it, hand up or hand forward, but like radically straight. You saw all the tears in my shirt from the kitties. Radically like rigid. How many times in your life have you put your hand up for something, and someone could take your picture and then be like, "Look, Nazi!" That's how foolish people are. That's how foolish people are. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And Brian says racism is okay unless it's from a white person, and that's liberal logic. Sure looks that way a lot of the time, doesn't it? And I'll remind you again, if anybody here happens to be watching live on Rumble, I cannot see your comments from here. Restream, the service I'm using, only lets me see the comments from YouTube. Guardian, because they sure get on board quick. U.S. Senate passes migrant detention bill hours after Trump was sworn in. Mulled it over for what, a couple of years? Now they're on it. The Senate has passed legislation requiring the district with theft-related crimes, with the chamber approving its first bill of the new Congress just hours after Trump took the oath of office. The vote was 64 to 35, as a dozen Democrats joined every present Republican in supporting the Laken Riley Act, named after the 22-year-old Georgia nursing student murdered last year by a Venezuelan national. The measure now goes to the House, which passed a slightly different version earlier this month. If the House approves this bill as expected, it will go to the president's desk for his signature, giving Trump the first legislative victory in his second term. Under the bill, Immigration and Customs Enforcement would be required to detain undocumented immigrants charged with crimes such as burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It would also allow which they should be anyways, instead of just cutting them loose because they're not citizens. That doesn't make any damn sense. If you did any of these things, if you did burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting in another country, you're not going home. They'll lock you up. As a visitor, I mean, like if you were a tourist or something, you'd have a real hard time getting home. It would also allow state attorney generals to sue the federal government if they believe their state has been harmed by the failure to enforce said immigration laws. Immigrant rights groups and legal experts have raised concerns that the bill, if enacted, would infringe on individual rights to due process. How can you have due process if you're not a citizen? And could undermine federal authority to enforce immigration law. Progressives have condemned Democrats for helping deliver Trump a swift legislative victory. Well, yeah, Democrats know what direction the wind, and that's all it ever was, because they're frauds. There's the vote reflects a sharp shift in strategy for Democrats, particularly from Trump's first term, when they vociferously and often unilaterally opposed all aspects of his immigration agenda. Yeah, you see how that's worked out for us, though, huh? Their defeats in the 2024 election have pushed some in the party to the right on an issue that was the centerpiece of Trump's campaign and a major issue for voters. So that's because we've all been hurting under that for quite a long time. It's been hurting this country, and we can all see it. Anyone who pays taxes can see it, because the people who can't see it are celebrities, socialites, and college kids who, majority of them, probably never took care of themselves their whole lives. They don't pay for anything. They don't pay bills. They don't have to worry about nothing. And they think that the whole world is like a comic book. I don't know what to tell you. James says, I'd love to know what POS leaked the plans in Chicago for ICE. I saw that. I saw that. And Raccoon says, I guess I missed something. Why was Laken Riley special to get a law named after her? Murder when illegals are killed a lot of citizens in the past 4 years. I think in that particular instance, if I remember correctly, the person who was responsible for Laken Riley's murder has actually been deported multiple times and kept getting back into the country. That's the problem. He had been ejected more than once. And Kimberly's here. Glad you could join us today as we continue to look at what all Trump is doing. You know, one single executive order that he signed rescinded 78 Biden executive orders in one fell swoop. 78 at once in one order. He just shut them all down. And it's getting enforced, which is what Doge is for. D-O-G-E, I guess, is pronounced Doge, not Dodge. As we get to a Business Insider article, Trump vows to reinstate C virus. You know what I would like to be able to do? I'd like to actually be able to say the name of the virus again on YouTube without getting a strike. But Trump vows to reinstate C virus vaccine refusers and orders troops to the border as part of the U.S. military overhaul. So many of his pledges, such as reinstating service members who were dismissed for refusing the C virus vaccine and engaging in controversial culture war issues in the Pentagon, tie into the commander-in-chief's goal of a major U.S. armed forces overhaul, another pledge that he made that he's actually doing. Trump was officially sworn into office Monday, began signing a flurry of executive orders, including reversing former President Joe Biden's policies on oil and gas drilling in Alaska, keeping TikTok open while it finds a potential buyer, and declaring emergencies on national energy and immigration and at the U.S.-Mexico border. He also signed an executive order declaring Mexican cartels to be foreign terrorist organizations and suggested he could send U.S. Special Forces to Mexico to take them out. During his inauguration speech, Trump presented attendees, including former President Biden, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, with his vision of the U.S. military. And there's that outfit I was talking about. It's just a long peak with a very conservative-looking hat. It's got a wide brim. That looks like something Princess Diana would have worn. I don't know why everybody wants to pick on that outfit. I think it looks rather nice. Quote from Trump, America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. The statement echoes comments the president made on the campaign trail and after the election, as well as those made by his Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, who vowed to restore the military's warrior ethos, readiness, and lethality during his confirmation hearing last week. So now all of these service members who were discharged, lost their positions because they refused to take the jab, are going to get their jobs back. And I see ARN has joined us. He says Kamala has been reduced to giving out food to LA fire victims. That's a photo op. That's a photo op. I hate when politicians do that crap. And Monkey says, crazy how Trump has done more of his promises than what a politician has done since when I was born 25 years ago. And that's what the argument was. People were sitting there saying, oh, he's not going to start pushing back on the border. Watch. He's not going to deport any. And even in the comment section on these podcasts, Oh, what's going to happen when Trump doesn't push that agenda when he finally becomes president and he doesn't do anything about the border? And I'm like, well, let's wait and see if he does. Let's wait and see if he does. Well, he is. What's going to happen when he doesn't release the people from January 6th? Well, he did. That was the first thing he did, or one of the first things that he did. He's trying to keep the promises that he made. You got to give him credit for that. Like the guy or hate the guy, like him or hate him, at least he's doing what he said instead of making a bunch of shitty promises and then doing something else and then following some other crazy agenda. Like when Obama said that he wasn't going to interfere with traditional marriage and then went completely 180 on it as soon as he got in office. Incredible. But he leaned on the whole immigration thing. And this could be his last hurrah. He's old. He's president again. And maybe this is one of those instances where he's just some old dude that says, I'm going to try to fix things before I check out. Kind of like what Ross Perot said he wanted to do, but he screwed up by dropping out of the race and then getting back into it. He might have won if he'd stayed in. Who remembers Ross Perot? Who remembers Ross Perot? Now, let's see here. Let's see here. And by the way, deportation is already underway. And I'm going to pull this article up here really quick, if I can get it to open properly. And this is going to be a Western Journal article just to alliterate on what I was already talking about as far as the border is concerned. Tom Homan confirms mass deportation operation is already underway and sends special message to sanctuary cities. Trump administration border czar Tom Homan confirmed on Tuesday mass deportations are underway as Immigration and Customs Enforcement starts arresting illegal immigrants. Homan said during an appearance on America's Newsroom on Fox that there are ICE teams out there as of today executing on deportation plans, starting with the most dangerous illegal entrants into the country. And these are quotes. We gave them direction to prioritize public safety threats that we are looking for. We've been working up a target list. Several media outlets reported in recent days that Chicago would be the first target for ICE raids, but Homan said the plans changed after the information was leaked, which was alluded to in the comments section here a moment ago. Quote again, there was some discussion about Chicago because the specific operational plan was released. So we had to look at and reevaluate, does this raise officer safety concerns? And it does. But we've addressed that, and teams are out there effective today. Such concerns about ICE agent safety come after David Mayland, a Border Patrol agent based in Vermont, was killed in the line of duty Monday at the Canadian border. And I'll remind you all again, they're coming across the northern border too. They have been in mass for the last 4 years, pouring over the northern border as well as the southern. The southern border sees the bulk of it, but many tens of thousands of them have been pouring over the northern border as well. And it ain't Canadians. These are people from the Middle East, people from Africa, people from Asia, Chinese nationals, people from Afghanistan. They're from all over the freaking place. Oh, man. Homan reiterated that those deemed public safety threats will be particularly targeted for deportation, but said that no illegal immigrant is off the table for arrest over his or her illegal entry into the United States. So it sounds to me like primarily it looks like they want to try to catch up with some of the people from that special interest alien list that 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 they have, that ICE has, because what was it, last year in October, I believe, we read that since Biden signed the executive order opening up the border in the first place to October of last year, they had something like 76,000 special interest aliens that were documented. And special interest aliens, of course, are aliens that are criminals or that are coming from terrorist hotspots around the world that were released into the interior of our country anyways. Lucky suggests they threatened Ross's family. And JJ is here. Glad you could make it. And ARN says Elon's Dragon spaceship that he wants to take to Mars has 33 rockets in it. Interesting. Hasdrubal says, saw a Trump flag proudly displayed in a small town in the west of Ireland. Unfortunately, all MSM and politicians here are commie sellouts. Oh, no. Oh, no. And that's a shame also. I'd like for them to find out who it was that leaked their plans. Who was it that leaked their plans for Chicago? Because Chicago's a freaking mess. I think between Chicago, Colorado, New York City, Boston are some of the cities that have been hit the hardest by the influx. James says, when I contracted for ICE, most of our Chinese detainees were in custody because they tried to get into Canada from the Buffalo area. Back to some quotes here from Homan. Right out of the gate, it's public safety threats, those who are in the country illegally that have been convicted, arrested for a serious crime. But let me be clear, there's not only public safety threats that will be arrested, because in sanctuary cities, we're not allowed to get that public safety threat in the jail, which means we've got to go to the neighborhoods and find them. And when we find them, he may be with others, and unlike the last administration, we're not going to tell ICE officers not to arrest an illegal alien. So if they find others will be arrested. So sanctuary cities will get exactly what they don't want: more agents in their neighborhoods and more collateral arrests. So they don't expect to get very much cooperation, but they are going to round them up. They are going to enter the cities in force. Bob says ABQ in New Mexico is full of aliens. That is the wrong screen. Give me a break, Restream. Restream giving me a hard time, because why is anything got to be easy? Let's go now. New York Post article ties in with what we were just discussing. Trump orders Border Patrol to immediately stop setting illegal migrants free into the U.S. Catch and release is ended. Goodbye, catch and release. Hello, catch and deport. Migrants who are caught illegally crossing the U.S. border will no longer be set free in the U.S. while they await immigration hearings. Instead, they'll be taken into custody until they can be deported, Homeland Security sources have told the Post. Border Patrol agents were given the edict by the Trump administration on Trump's first full day in office, Tuesday. It represents a seismic shift from the catch and release open border days of the Biden administration, during which around 8 million immigrants flooded into the country. We've read numbers that are higher than that. And keep in mind, that's just the ones that have been caught. It could be far more. It's more likely almost double that number. Under the new orders, illegal migrants stopped at the border can only be released with the approval of from the Department of Homeland Security headquarters in Washington. Under Biden, migrants often waltzed across the border with no fear of being turned back. Emboldened by early signals by the administration, America's borders were open. After Border Patrol agents detained migrants at the border, they would attempt to ascertain their identities and make sure they didn't already have deportation orders or criminal records in the U.S., which obviously didn't work, which is where you get the whole Lake and Riley bill from. They still let them into the interior. Failing that, migrants would usually be turned loose with a court date with no mechanism in place to force compliance. And as we've read in previous articles, most of them don't show up for the court hearings. Gee, I wonder why. These policies resulted in numerous high-profile murders and other crimes across the U.S., including the killing of Georgia nursing student, there it is, Lake and Riley, by a Venezuelan gang member, and the murder of a 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungri, allegedly by two migrants released at the border weeks before. The free-for-all under the prior administration also let hundreds of migrants with ties to terrorist groups like ISIS to slip across the border, some of them later nabbed in cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Philadelphia. Border agents who previously spoke with the Post fumed about having to release migrants without proper vetting. Under the previous policies, they said they knew they were unwittingly releasing criminals and terrorists into the U.S. As a result, agency morale has tanked, with many personnel claiming they ultimately lost their purpose of securing the border. Yeah, I mean, you're not letting these people do their job. You're not letting them do their job. So what do you expect? But here we go. The policies are done. Bosses told agents on Tuesday, according to multiple sources. Catch and release is ended. This is a quote. We will make every effort to hold migrants until they can be removed. The pursuit policy is being changed back to the previous version, and we will now use the term illegal alien again, since it's what they actually are in legal terms. And that's Border Patrol sources. The pursuit policy refers to an order under the Biden administration that hamstrung agents' ability to chase suspected illegal immigrants who fled being arrested. So once again, yes, indeed, Trump kept his word on that. Trump kept his word on that. And a lot of people said he wasn't going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's not going to stop people at the border. He's not going to release the people from January 6th. He won't do it. Trump's a fraud. He's not going to keep his campaign promises. Even in here, fairly regularly in the comments section. But yeah, he did what he said he was going to do, which again, you like Trump, you don't like him, whatever, at least he's making an attempt to keep his word. And for any politician, I can respect that. If you at least stick to your guns and you do what you say you're going to do, I can respect that much. Even if I thought that person was misguided, well, at least you're doing what you said you were going to do. I'll give you that much, which is a very Machiavellian way to look at it. I have a video clip I want to play. I'll see if I can play it without getting into trouble. So I seem to get in trouble every day on YouTube. I get at least one yellow strike almost every freaking day. And then I appeal it every day. And then the appeal is usually accepted, but too late to get monetized. And they do it on purpose. And of course, that begs the question, well, if you're accepting the appeal, then there was never a problem in the first place. What the hell, ScrewTube? And John is here. He says cats rule. I don't have any though. I don't have there's no cats in the room right now. They've abandoned me. They're all probably snuggled up on the bed. It's a cold day today. Cold day today. It snowed again yesterday afternoon and a little bit in the evening. And it was real slick this morning. Black ice slick out here. Joe says Trump ended the EV mandate. Yes, and now British and Canadians are complaining that their countries and screwing themselves with EV mandates and giving money to build EV factories in Canada. Yes, and we read something about that yesterday because even the Telegraph was championing Trump, which is of course a UK newspaper, championing Trump for doing it. They said he shut off the mandate so people can actually buy whatever car they want, unlike the hole we're in the UK, because they're really screwed. And Lucky says, I don't care for Biden, but Trump had a standing ovation for Hillary after Hillary for jail after the first election and Operation Warp Speed. But back into this, here's a video clip I wanted to share. And it's just I like to psychoanalyze things like this and just pick them apart. I'm just listening to this kid. Okay, and this is on Microsoft. This is on CNN. Okay, son who reported his dad to the FBI after January 6th is upset because his dad called him a traitor. Okay, so CNN's Aaron Burnett speaks to Jackson Reffitt, and I'm going to play the video clip here in a minute so you can hear this. I'll play a little. I'll play some of it anyway, as much as I can get away with. Who turned his father, Guy Reffitt, into the FBI for his role on January 6th. President Trump pardoned more than 1,500 people charged in the attack on the U.S. Capitol and commuted the sentences of leaders of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to play this clip for you. And I have a few points to make. Let me know if there's any problem.
Up front now is Jackson Reffitt. He turned his father, Guy Reffitt, into the FBI for participating in the insurrection. And Guy Reffitt is currently in prison, serving a 6.5-year sentence for rioting at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. So obviously convicted and serving his sentence. Jackson, I appreciate your time. So here we are, and Trump is announcing pardons for January 6th defendants. That this could include your father, who's serving a 6-year sentence, a 6.5-year sentence as we speak. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm honestly flabbergasted that we've gotten to this point. I mean, I'm terrified. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've taken as many precautions as I could recently. I've picked up a gun. I've moved, and I've gotten myself away from what I thought would be a dangerous situation and staying where I thought my dad could find me, or other people, people that are going to feel so validated by these actions, by this pardon. I'm just so filled with paranoia about what could happen.
How brainwashed can you be? Okay. First of all, I don't know what his dad is exactly guilty of, Guy Reffitt, aside from participating on January 6th. I don't know what else his father may or may not have done, criminally speaking. I do know a lot of people were convicted for just being there. They got lengthy sentences. In this instance, Guy got 6.5 years. You turned your father in to the FBI. Why? Why did you do that? And if you were that afraid of this man for whatever reason, let's say his dad is crazy. I don't know. Okay. You could have done that completely anonymously instead of going full on public. You might remember this kid. Son turns in his own father. Big headlines a few years back. Okay. Big headlines a few years back. You might remember him. You might be able to find the old clips. He wanted to pat himself on the back for being so lefty. I don't know what to call it. Oh, I turned in my own dad. Yeah, somebody put on give him a brown shirt and an armband real quick. If you were that afraid of that man then, you could have done it anonymously. No one would ever have known. The FBI is all about trading secrets. They'd have been happy to have kept you in the dark and just went and grabbed your dad. Okay? And you're so afraid of him or other people from January 6th, I guess, you bought a gun. Notice he's wearing camouflage. You bought a gun and moved away because you're so scared. You bought a gun because you're so scared. Because your dad's being released early. If you're that afraid of him, how did you think he was going to react in 6.5 years if he served out the full term? I think Dad would have been really enraged by then. Have you attempted to contact your father at all? Have you reached out to him and said, hey, Dad, I made a real terrible mistake. Send him a letter. I feel really bad about this. Can we talk? Has it occurred to you maybe Dad doesn't want to go back to jail? Do you really think your father? Again, I don't know anything about Guy Reffitt particularly. Is he actually going to come back and kill his own son? That you need to arm yourself? You think you have to shoot your father? Dilo says that kid's effed up in the head. And Country says, hello, got a gun. I thought all these loony leftists were against guns. Yeah, until they need one. John says snitches get stitches. JJ says some literal 1984 type of crap, quoting Orwell, where the state is placed above family. That's what that was. I can't read this one because it's in another language. The name of the person, it says in the words of Malcolm X, only a fool will allow his enemy to educate his children. The kids are brainwashed at school. We all were. Yeah, the letters are in Hebrew and I can't decipher it right now. It's too small. I can't see it. Blanca says he's thirsty for fame. Look, he's on fake news media telling the world his business. Again, because this is one of those people that was like put on a pedestal for turning people in. And, you know, speaking of 1984, this reminds me of that scene or that part in 1984, and it was depicted well in the film actually as well, where the guy the double plus good guy from the cafeteria who started to complain about the ham chunks and then flipped the script because he was afraid someone would rat on him, is sitting in detention waiting to be processed, and he's proud of his son for turning him in because he didn't realize that he was doing anything wrong himself. Monkey says that is some brown shirt Stalinist style of snitching to be awarded nothing but a good job certificate. Yeah, I mean, that's not okay. You know, if I had a relative who was there, I don't care. You know, I don't know what to say. It's not that level of a crime. It's not like I found out my neighbor is chopping up bodies next door. Gee, I better call somebody. This is the kind of person who calls code compliance because their neighbor's grass is a half inch too high, or they forgot to pull their barrel back from the curb after trash pickup. Ratting on somebody for nothing. Your father. And now you're so terrified, but you've exposed yourself twice. Once for accolades and once now for attention. Age 12 says now we all know what he looks like. And Country says could have called the police if he felt threatened. Oh, wait, the extreme left warns to defund the police. There you go. Dragon says he wouldn't forgive him if he was his father. And Jericho says, I'd be pissed too if my own kid turned me in thanks to the media and agenda. Everyone's getting whacked, in my opinion. Oh, my gosh. But I mean, I would imagine. I don't. Again, I don't know, Guy. I would think that most fathers, though, would probably be like, "Well, yeah, I don't want to talk to that kid. He's off. He's off the list," and just remain estranged. Leave me alone. You're not my son. That sort of a thing. I think that's what most people would normally do. But now he thinks that all these people from January 6th apparently are going to come hunting him. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Hasdrubal says, remember when the commies and Nazis turned the kids against their parents under those regimes? What a douchebag. Yes. And JJ says a future Karen or Kyle in this instance. And James says, Antioch, Tennessee, 17-year-old Brandon Williams shoots two female classmates. One succumbed to her injuries and turned the gun on himself. What, did that just happen? And Country says attack was mostly trespassing, although we as the U.S. people technically own the White House. Yeah, I know. And that's the whole public. Anything that is called public, though, technically belongs to the government, and we are privileged to access it. We don't have a right to it. Like your courthouse is public, but if they don't want you there, guess what? You're leaving. If they don't want you hanging around out in front, then you're gonna move. And James says just happened. That's a shame. It'll probably turn up in tomorrow's news feeds then. And Hasdrubal has to go. Well, glad you could join us today. Let me see if what else he has to say here real quick.
I've been waiting all day from a call from the DOJ to just figure it out and know what to do next. Because right now I don't, other than just to, sit around and, talk about it.
I mean,
Talking about it is why you're in trouble. Why you think you're in trouble. Why you assume that you are in trouble. Why you assume that you're in trouble. You betrayed your father. And again, I don't know what their relationship is like. Maybe they don't get along anyway. In which case, it was only an opportunity for him to throw his father under the bus. Throw his father under the bus. Country says if he's scared, why go on TV? I don't know. Maybe he's got a GoFundMe. Help me hide from my dad. GoFundMe. He'll probably get $1 million from all these bleeding heart liberals. It's incredible. Oh, there's Rodney, all the way from New Zealand. He says that greasy little sod stabbed his father in the back. I agree. And again, even if they don't get along, he didn't have to do anything like that. He could have just, you don't get along with your dad, man, just stay away from him. Seriously. I'm all about letting go of false senses of obligation. Just because someone is family doesn't mean you have to be beholden to them. If you get along with him, you get along with him. If you don't, if there's some kind of problem, or if that person is a problem for you, is dangerous or causes you some sort of distress, leave them alone. That's why I don't talk to my own mother. I haven't talked to her in years. She's toxic. So I stay away from her. If she was there, if I saw her in that footage, I wouldn't say anything. Because why get involved? Why? JJ says, is the media going to try and spin this as a Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader type of relationship? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Why are you here again? And Paul Burke has joined us. You put yourself out there in the beginning so that you could stand on a pedestal and see, look how patriotic I am. I turned in my own dad. And now you're scared.
I mean, you're scared. I mean, you're right. I mean, you're scared about what from your father.
Buying a car is kind of a big deal, but you
Hold on, let me get rid of the ad.
Or someone else.
Yeah, I don't know what other people are thinking. I don't even know what my father's thinking. I mean, I've talked to my father before, but I had thought it gotten better, and it really hadn't. My dad is still involved with these militias. He still talks with, a martyr status. He has no change. He's more galvanized than ever that I've seen.
Yeah, I think being betrayed by your son and sent to prison would galvanize you. He knows he doesn't have anybody. The whatever militia or whatever group or prepper group or whoever that he was involved with, if it was a militia, I don't know. I don't know the actual history of Guy Reffitt. Okay. Those people are probably the only people he feels like he has left. If his own son turned on him. I can't even trust my kid. That's what he was saying. I thought we were getting along. I thought things were changing. Well, what changed was you turned him in. You turned him in. Raccoon says he looks like a wuss. And D'Lo says he effed him over. Yeah. He screwed his dad over. And again, I don't know, like he suggested a militia. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is he actually in a militia, or is it just a prepper group? I'm not sure who. Okay, he's a 3%er. I just looked it up. Guy Reffitt is one of those guys that's in the 3%er club. He was in the 3%er group. And you see those guys from time to time. They usually have like the Roman numeral 3 in the circle on like the back of their car. And Tuck says he's a scummy runt. And Country says, I don't remember seeing a militia being let into the Capitol by Capitol Police. No, me either. So Reffitt has 3 children with his wife, former department store operations manager and stay-at-home mother Nicole, younger daughter Peyton, son Jackson, elder daughter Sarah. He worked in oil rigs. He used to live in Malaysia, working on oil rigs. Trump supporter. I'm just glancing over what's in Wikipedia on him. Guy Reffitt, Reffitt, like refit, but with two F's and 2 T's, if you want to look it up. Because I'm just glazing it over real quick because we're running out of time. He says, following the attack, Reffitt texts to a fellow 3%er member, we took the capital of the United States of America and we will do it again. He went back to Texas the following day. His 18-year-old son, Jackson, recorded Reffitt boasting about his role in the riot and then would go on to testify at Reffitt's trial against his father. Oh. And had suggested that Dad had said, if you turn me in, you're a traitor. And traitors get shot. Okay, so Dad did make sort of a threat. But he turned him in. He with video footage that I guess he took secretly, and actually stood as a witness in the trial too. No wonder his father said he would shoot him. Oh no. Wow, that is bad. That is just bad. Paul says he's out of the will. Yeah. And JJ says, pardon my ignorance, what is a 3%er? 3%ers are a sort of a somewhere between I don't know if you can quite call them a militia. It's more like a prepper group, but they they get the name 3%er, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, from the idea that only 3% of America was behind the revolution. They're people who basically stand behind the concept of the Constitution and all that, and that Americans should have rights and the government shouldn't try to force social agendas on people. You can look up 3%er on, I don't know how reliable Wikipedia will be, because you can only trust so much of what you read in Wikipedia. You know how it is. But yeah, the idea is that only 3% of America was behind behind the revolution, and that's how America was founded. And the idea of being a patriot, and the idea of being free, and the idea of sticking to what the Constitution says, and all of that. I don't know if you can quite call them a militia. I always thought of them more in terms of a prepper group. Another club for people who really, really believe in the Constitution, I guess, or the First and Second Amendment specifically. But yeah, that goes a lot deeper than what I had initially thought. He recorded his father to have evidence, turned his father in, and testified against him in court, to which his father replied, "You're a traitor, traitors get shot," which is why I guess he's scared for his life now. But I could see why his dad was that angry. And just because, I don't know, again, I don't know anything about Guy Reffitt, if he is potentially dangerous or not. People say things. How many times have you said, "I'm going to kill that guy"? And you're not going to really hurt someone. Sometimes we just say things, especially out of anger and especially under those circumstances. And he was a traitor. Doesn't mean he should be retaliated against to such a degree necessarily, but he did betray his father. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But with that, we're at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most of the time, on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on Rumble, and that's Coffee Talk 2 on Rumble, if you're looking for me there. Although I cannot see the comments from Rumble. I can't see comments from there. I can only see comments from ScrewTube. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on Fistful of Radio. So thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today, as always. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will